Hey, beautiful. This is your intuitive consultant and life coach, Avalaura, with another edition of Avalaura Heal My Life podcast. Listen in each week because I'm helping you to heal your life, heal your relationships, learn how to do meaningful work in the world, and make an impact that creates legacy. So go ahead and get your pen and paper, get your favorite drink, and listen in now. This episode of Avalaura Heal My Life is sponsored by Canada's #1 inspiration coach, Maureen Kaylee Verdonk, affectionately known as Coach Mo. She is the founder of Inspired Living Life Coaching, and Coach Mo is passionately helping women say yes to ourselves and experience more success and joy in our lives. Visit Coach Mo at www.mocaliverdonk.com. That's M-O Callie, Caley, Verdonk, Verdonk, mocaliverdonk.com, and claim your free audio CD today.
So tonight we have Avalaura Bahari here with us, and she's going to talk to us about saying yes to relationships. But before we get to Avalaura, for those of you that are new to joining in on the month of yes, I want to tell you a little bit about where this idea came from. So the month of yes came to me probably some months ago. And I was telling one guy gave me this idea about saying yes, the month of yes. July is the middle of the year. A lot of individuals, they start the year out. We set our intentions for the year. We set our goals for the year. But the problem is we get to a certain point and we haven't accomplished those goals. We may start off doing them and then we start lacking and doing other things, getting distracted, and we don't complete our goals, or we never start our goals to begin with. We just write them down on paper, say them out loud. They sound really good, but we don't do anything with those goals. So the month of yes is all about empowering women across the country, across the globe, to say yes to themselves, to say yes to relationships, to say yes to health, money, and their careers. And all of this week, we're going to focus on saying yes. And we started last night with the foundation of saying yes to you. And tonight we're going to move into saying yes to relationships. So I want you guys to know that although we are in the middle of the year, we're moving out of July, but I want you to know that it's not too late to start your goals. It's not too late to say yes. If it's something you wanted to do, if you're looking and wanting to know, how do I build a relationship? How do I work on myself in order to have a healthy relationship? How do I say yes to self? How do I work on my health? How do I change my mindset about money? Or how do I make the right career choice or start that business? It's not too late to say yes. We're still in 2016, but we don't want you guys to leave out of this week not feeling empowered to move forward in the direction that you choose to go into. And also, at the end of the telesummit, you'll also be getting a pledge. And so that pledge will consist of you completing the pledge. You're going to fill in what area that you know that you need to say yes to. And I want you to sign it, take that pledge. I want you to post it somewhere. I would tell people to post it on TV because TV is a distraction. A lot of people turn it on and get in front of Netflix. I'm guilty of that. And I just sit there and I just watch and flip and watch movies on Netflix. Or post it on your computer or post it somewhere where you can see it on your desk or somewhere so that you can remember what commitment you made to yourself so that you can stay focused on your goals. All right, I gave you guys a mouthful. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce you all to Avalaura. Avalaura, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi. So I'm going to let Avalaura give you guys a little bit of background about herself, and then we're going to jump straight into the call and talk about saying yes to relationships. You got it, Avalaura.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for having me. I'm really excited to talk about one of my favorite topics for sure, relationships. And it's an area that we all struggle with, whether it's, our personal relationships, whether it's our romantic relationships, our relationships with ourselves, as you all talked about last night. and then even, of course, in our business and career relationships. And so I'm really excited to talk to you. A little bit about me. My background is actually in counseling and social work. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I got my master's degree in social work. And, I have been truly blessed that over the last almost 11 years now, I have been able to focus on the work that I love the most, truly living in passion and purpose, and helping, people just like you who I'm sure are listening to do that as well. And, Ronnie, I'm so glad that you said that it's still 2016 and that you can still make changes now. That's one of the things that I've really experienced because back then in my social work days, as I call it, I had a major decision to make that really changed my life, and realizing that it wasn't too late even though I thought it was. And, that was when I was a program director at an outpatient mental health clinic, and I was absolutely miserable in this job. I was getting depressed. I felt really stuck. I was in a very toxic environment. When you talk about relationships, they were very negative. I worked with people who gossiped and didn't really support each other. And even though I was there to really help the owner to, build his dream and to build his business, this was his baby, I was not being supported. I was not being nurtured. And I found myself playing way small and being Clark Kent instead of being Superwoman. Mm-hmm. And I realized that instead of really helping people heal and to change their lives, what I always wanted to do, what I went to school for, what I had intended to do, instead what I was doing was helping people to maintain their dysfunction. And it just got to a point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, but I really didn't know what to do. I knew something needed to change. I didn't want to be one of those people on TV that you see going postal, flashing across the news, breaking story. But I didn't know what to do. I felt really trapped because I had committed to, being here and doing this work. And long story short, through a series of events, I ended up calling out to God, praying, like, please get me out of here because I don't know what to do. And I went to the spiritual retreat. I came back Monday morning, and out of the blue, my boss just fired me. Mm. And at first, I was pissed. I was pissed. I was like, wait a minute, how can you fire me? I bust my butt for you, all this work that I had done. I had sacrificed really my dreams, right, to help you. Mm-hmm. And then Spirit texted in and said, Avalaura, this is an answered prayer. It is time for you to go. It is time for you to do your own thing. And even though this was not planned for, I could have gone back into the social work arena, gotten another job, but I said, no, this is my freedom papers. This is my wake-up call. So I did the work. I took that time. I did the work. And although, the things that I tell my clients to do, I did the healing work. I got coaches. I got the clarity. I got the focus at everything that I needed to. And then 6 months later, I opened up Avalaura's Healing Center. Awesome. And that was almost 11 years ago. And so I say all of that to say that it never is too late, that whatever situation you are in, you can make a decision at any given moment to change that. So I do hope that information shared today, the information shared with the other ladies who will be talking to you all and pouring into you all, I do hope that if you are in a place that you know that changes need to be made, that you will take it and you'll make some changes and you'll take action and do it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I mean, there are so many of us on the call who can actually relate, and I'm one of those people that's in the field as well. And I can definitely relate to your story, and you're going and you're actually helping people remain in their dysfunction, and you're like, I'm looking for something else, and amongst all the other things that you have to deal with at work and in that particular environment. So I totally relate to your story, but that's a whole nother telephone for me to tell my story. But I totally relate to it. I totally relate to it. So we're going to jump right in here. For the sake of time, we got you guys. Still see some of you guys hopping in on the call. Again, thank you for being here. We're here with Avalaura Bahari for those of you that just logged in for the month of Yes, and we're going to jump in and talk about saying yes to relationships. So first thing we're going to talk about is the healthy versus unhealthy relationship. Can you tell us a little bit about what these look like, the healthy versus the unhealthy relationship?
Yeah, we could spend, the whole hour just talking about this.
Right.
And, one of the things that I always say is that, the people that I work with, that's one of the things that I always talk about is that I help them from a place from whole, H-O-L-E, to wholeness, W-H-O-L-E-ness, from whole to wholeness in their life and their businesses and their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, I do a talk on this called The 7 Steps from Whole to Wholeness in your relationships. And I say all of that to say that when we're talking about healthy versus unhealthy, one of the biggest things is that we are not operating in wholeness. That in an unhealthy relationship, you have essentially two broken people coming together and trying to form a relationship. And so there becomes this, codependency, so to speak, instead of two whole, complete beings coming together and lifting each other up.
Mm.
And so when we talk about healthy, it doesn't mean being perfect. It simply means, I would say progress over perfection. You are aware of, your pain points. You are aware of your weaknesses. You're aware of your strengths. You're aware of all of these things, and you're actively working on yourself. So that when you're, when your mate, when your, client, when your friend, whoever does something that you don't like, you don't perceive it and take it in a way, as a personal attack, but you can actually look at it and say, why does that offend me? Why does that bother me? What is the lesson to be learned here? That's healthy. Instead of allowing it to injure you and getting upset, blaming, playing the victim, feeling like this person intentionally tried to hurt you, getting defensive, all of those other things, that's unhealthy. So we're talking about being whole versus being broken.
I like that. That's really good. So let me ask you this, since we're talking to all the women out here, why do you think one of the reasons, or what do you think some of the reasons are that women struggle to say yes to relationships, especially those healthy relationships?
The thing is that when we talk about relationships, the thing that we have to understand is that our view of relationships really, even when we look at just our belief system, our beliefs are formed in our childhood. They're formed, a lot of times before the age of 5. So what happens is, what's the programming that you're receiving during those years? You're getting it from your parents, from your teachers, from your family, and even society, right? And how many of us watch those Disney movies where, Prince Charming comes and saves the day, and, you're not whole and you're not complete and you're not happy until Prince Charming finds you? It's all of this programming that we have. So how can we say yes to a healthy relationship when we don't even know what a healthy relationship looks like? So a lot of times what happens is I see women making relationship choices from their pain and not from their purpose. So they're constantly attracting the things that they don't necessarily want in relationships because that's all they know. And the things that they say they want, it's very difficult for them to get them because even when they see them and even when it's there in front of their face, they don't even know what it looks like. They don't even know what to do with it because, no, that's not how a relationship is supposed to be. But that's what you said you wanted. So it's a lot of the dysfunctional beliefs that we have been taught about relationships that make it very difficult for us to say yes to a healthy relationship.
I like that. So, and if you guys are listening and you hear some good nuggets, because I'm hearing some and I'm over here looking like I just want to type on my phone, you can share your nuggets on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, and use the hashtag the month of yes so that we can keep up with them. But these are some good nuggets. So I hope you guys are really posting them because I'm sure sitting here wishing I can post them. I'm taking notes though. I do take notes whenever I do these. So I'm taking notes. So we talked about women saying yes to relationships, and you've been giving us some good nuggets on that so far. So How does what we say yes to and no to shape our experience when it comes to relationships, if that makes sense?
Absolutely, it does. And, when we talk about relationships, and even when we talk about this healthy versus unhealthy, there's a quote by Eckhart Tolle that I absolutely love, that I constantly remind myself of. And every time I'm doing couples counseling or even working with a client who is struggling in their relationship, it's a quote that I always reference. And it's that if I accept the fact that my relationships are here to make me conscious instead of happy, then my relationships become a wonderful self-mastery tool that keeps realigning me with my higher purpose for living. So I'm going to say that again because I know that might be a mouthful, and this is by Eckhart Tolle. If I accept the fact that my relationships are here to make me conscious instead of happy, then my relationships become a wonderful self-mastery tool that keeps realigning me with my higher purpose for living. So I love that quote because when you operate from that frame of mind, again, choosing your relationships out of purpose and not out of pain, it's very clear what you say yes to versus what you say no to. And that can only come from, one, knowing who you are. So know thyself, doing that work to know who am I, why am I here, what is my purpose for being. Because once you know that and you operate from that place, then you'll attract that energy to you, and you'll also have discernment out of what's going to serve you versus what's going to bring you down and distract you and take you away from who you are and what you say you want to do in the world. So it's having that reference point of being very clear about, I know who I am. I know who I be. Mm-hmm. And anybody that I allow in my sphere, in my circle, they are also going to be in that same direction. They are going to lift me up and not bring me down. But again, it's operating from a place of purpose, not from pain, and not saying, well, my relationships are supposed to make me happy. Because I'm going to tell you right now, a good relationship is not going to make you happy. It's going to stretch you. It's going to hurt sometimes. It's going to take you out of your comfort zone. And that's what you want. You don't want somebody that's just like you. You want somebody that's different, that's going to stretch you, that's going to help you be the better you. So a good relationship is not going to make you happy, but it is going to make you conscious, and it is going to help you operate in purpose.
I like that. Knowing who you are, knowing what your purpose is, and choosing relationships that align with your purpose. I like that. I like that. So talking about yes and no and how it shapes our experience. A lot of women struggle with saying yes and no when it comes to relationships. When and how should they know the difference and when to use these words when it comes to relationships? I know we talked about knowing your purpose, knowing who you are. Does that same thing apply in this instance, or does it apply with some extra steps to it?
It does apply, and what you're really talking about is boundaries. Mm-hmm. And boundaries are really setting those limits. And again, this is something else that I'm really passionate about. Like I teach a 6-week boundaries course, okay? So I kind of call it Boundaries Boss. Many of us, we are boundaries babies. We don't know anything about boundaries, about healthy boundaries. If somebody crosses your boundaries, we might yell, scream, shout, act a fool. We don't know how to have healthy boundaries where somebody can cross you and you can elegantly and gracefully handle that in a way where you don't accept that they crossed your boundaries, but you also don't act a dang fool either. So we are talking about really having healthy boundaries. And again, healthy boundaries is a process. It's one of those things that we absolutely have to be taught because it's not something that many of us grew up knowing. Many of us grew up seeing our parents, our mother in particular, boundaries crossed. And what I mean by that, if you come from a household where, let's say your mother, for example, she put everybody else before herself. Let's say she needed new clothes, but she didn't get new clothes. She took care of you first. She took care of your father first, right? She took care of everybody else before her. Maybe she's sick, but everybody else is sick, but she's going to take care of everybody else before she takes care of herself. That's a lack of boundaries. That's a lack of limits. So if that's the behavior that's been mirrored for you, that's all that you know. So then you grow up and you start doing the same exact thing. You don't have that middle ground. You don't know what's the best thing to do. You operate out of what you've learned. So many of us don't know boundaries. Many of us don't know that there's actually different types of boundaries. And based on the type of boundary and based on the relationship with that person, then there's different ways of healthily defending your boundaries. So there's so much to this whole thing. But the thing about boundaries is that it's one of the major areas that we see problems in relationships, because if you don't know how to set limits, then you don't know how to teach people to treat you. And if you don't know how to teach people to treat you, then you're upset when they do something that you don't like, and you're constantly the victim. You're constantly blaming them. You're constantly upset at them, when really it's your fault because you didn't know how to teach them how to treat you. You know, one of the things I tell my clients is that we teach and train people how to treat us. In everything that we say, in everything that we do, we teach and train people how to treat us. And, you know, I'll never forget it. One of my clients said to me, Avalaura, I don't like that. Why is all the onus on me? Why is all the responsibility on me? Why do I have to teach people how to treat me? You know, are you saying that nobody, you know, people don't know how to act anymore? Like there's just no good people out there and they don't know how to treat me? And I said, that's not the case at all. I mean, granted, we all know there's people out there who just have no home training, that they don't know how to treat you. That's real. And that seems to be more and more real. But what I'm saying is that we are all individual people. And so even if you are in a relationship with a really good person, even though you're married and you love your husband, he's a wonderful man, you are still different than other women that he might have been with or other women that he's used to. So you still have to teach him how to treat you. You might like orchids where the other chick he was with before liked carnations. And you look at him like, why are you giving me carnations? And he thinks, well, you like carnations because the woman before you liked carnations. And you're like, no, baby, I'm elevated. I don't do carnations. I'm an orchid chick, you know? Right? You have to teach him that. So it's not a bad thing. He's still trying to do something good for you, but he doesn't know what you like unless you teach him. So in every relationship, you teach and train people how to treat you, and that comes from boundaries. If you don't have healthy boundaries, then you don't know how to properly teach people how to treat you, because you don't even know how you want to be treated.
That's good. That's good. And we talk about boundaries a lot and setting boundaries. And like you said, there are so many people who do not understand what boundaries are. They don't know how to set them. They also don't know how to teach people how to treat them. And like you said, they get upset when all of these things happen. But what limits are you setting? Are you speaking up? Are you, how is a person supposed to know that something is bothering you if you don't say anything? And
exactly.
That's really good information. I could talk about that all day today. I used to teach a class on that, so I can definitely talk about that one all day. But you gave some really good information on that. Moving on to this one area, self-sabotage. We've been hearing a lot about it. I just wrote a book about self-sabotage, and a lot of individuals, some people didn't even know what self-sabotage was. What is self-sabotage? I've never heard of it before. So in relationships, a lot of individuals commit self-sabotage, but like you mentioned earlier, because of the boundaries and not setting limits, we tend to blame things on everybody else. So what are some self-sabotaging behaviors that women commit in relationships, and what can they do to recognize and change these behaviors?
Okay, so first of all, let me break that down because, like you said, some people might not even be aware of what self-sabotage means.
Mm-hmm.
And self-sabotage, what that really means is, because it's kind of become this buzzword, and sometimes when you have these buzzwords, they become meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
what that really means is it's any behavior that is not in alignment with what you say that you want. So, for example, let's say you're trying to lose weight. You say you want to lose 20 pounds. And instead of doing the things that because we all know what to do. Let's be real. We all know how to lose weight. So instead of working out, instead of, eating healthy foods, eating more fruits and vegetables, limiting your sugar and your sweets and your carbs, instead of doing that, you decide, I'm going to eat ice cream every day. That's a self-sabotaging behavior. There is no way that eating ice cream every day, and trust me, in this heat, I really could eat ice cream every day, but there is no way that eating ice cream every day is going to get you to lose weight. In fact, you're going to gain weight. So a self-sabotaging behavior is actually engaging in any behavior that is really in contradiction, is not congruent to what your goal is. So first of all, the way that you sabotage yourself in relationships is not even having clear relationship goals. If you don't have clear relationship goals, how can you have a healthy relationship that's in alignment with that? And I know that's a foreign concept because most people, when they get in relationships, they just say, oh, I just want to be in love. Okay, well, it's very easy to love somebody. There's a lot of love, but is that the only thing that's required in your relationship? Is that the only thing that you need? So you need clear relationship goals. So one of the things that I said that's important in relationships is having a relationship that is in alignment with your purpose, having a relationship that is going to lift you higher and not bring you down. That's a relationship goal. So if you look at that as a goal, then it gives you a clear, okay, if this person is not aligned with that, that's not the person that I want to be in a relationship with. So that's the first thing, is you got to have a relationship goal.
Right.
And then when we're talking about self-sabotage, obviously it makes it very easy to say, if you have a goal, then you know if you are engaging in relationships with other people, right, that are not in alignment with that goal. And again, like I said, most of us we make relationship decisions out of pain rather than purpose. So I'll give you an example. So, a lot of times what happens is I get, women, one of the big reasons that they finally come to me and say, oh my God, Avalaura, I think I need a life coach. I need help. Something is really wrong with me. Is because they have a breakup. Their heart gets broken. And they finally realize that something is wrong with them, even though, there were signs all along the way, but it's not until they got their heart broken open. They lost the one that they thought was it, and now they're like, oh, my God, something is wrong with me. I can't function anymore. I'm crying all the time. I can't seem to get over it. That's when they realize they need help. And a lot of times what starts to happen when I work with them is I start seeing certain patterns of behavior that they're attracting literally the same person over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of looking at that pattern and saying, okay, how come every guy that, I'm with is shallow? Or how come every guy I'm with, he has to be brown skinned, 6 feet tall, gap tooth. It's like these patterns that we end up with because we're still operating out of the pain. So that's a self-sabotaging behavior because maybe that guy is not serving you. Maybe we need to look at a different guy. Maybe the guy that you want, maybe he doesn't need a six-pack. Maybe his appearance is not as important as his personality. Maybe he doesn't need to make six figures and have a BMW. Maybe he can be blue collar. He doesn't have to have a master's degree. So a lot of times the self-sabotaging behavior comes from operating out of what we think we want in a relationship. Is the surface stuff and not the things that we actually really need. Not the man who's really going to take care of you, who's going to love you, who's going to treat you like a queen, who's going to lift you up, who's going to support you, who's going to be there for you. I was laughing. I saw somebody post on Facebook the other day. She said, "Why are all the cute men broke?" Well, maybe we need to change your version of cute.
Right.
And so it's looking at those beliefs. It's really, and that's what happens is that our beliefs sabotage our relationships. And so anytime you're engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors, you got to look at your beliefs.
Right.
You got to look at what you're holding on to that's limiting you, that's keeping you stuck, that's not allowing you to look at relationships in a different way, that's not allowing you to attract a different type of energy into your life that's really going to fill you up and feed you versus take away from you and distract you.
Good information. Telling y'all, I hope you're taking notes. Good information. Really good information. So with saying all of that and all of the things that we've talked about so far, how can women learn to connect more with themselves before wanting a relationship? What does connecting with self look and feel like for the woman before getting into a relationship? What does that look like, feel like? How can she connect more with herself?
Such a great question. And again, this goes back to being whole and complete before you get into a relationship. So not looking for a man to fill you, complete you, love you, and then I'll be happy and everything will be right in the world, but loving yourself first, being complete first, being a whole woman first, and then attracting a whole man. So one of the things that needs to happen, again, is that you got to take that time. We don't take enough time to just be with ourselves anymore. We are so distracted. There's so much going on in the world, especially now. We're on Facebook, we're on our phone, we're watching TV, we're, watching Netflix, we're on the computer. We constantly have to be, sort of distracted from ourselves. And when we're talking about being connected to yourself first before wanting a relationship, we're really talking about taking that time out for self-reflection and taking that time out to do the healing work. Taking the time out to really examine what do I believe? What dysfunction was passed on to me? What did my mama believe and my grandfather mama believe and everybody else? And now I'm adopting and, all those things that I said, I'm never going to be like my mother. But then I find myself saying the dang same things that my mother used to say. So taking the time out to really look at those things and be aware of them, be conscious of them. And for many people that, that's where somebody like me comes in, because it is extremely difficult to do that on your own. There's only so much that you can see about yourself. But it's taking the time out to do that, taking the time out to, meditate, be still, be quiet, sit in silence and just be with yourself. It's like, how many of you actually enjoy being by yourself? Because I can spend a whole day, I can spend a whole weekend by myself and be fine. I'm great company.
I'm here.
So it's taking the time to do those things, taking the time to know you, taking those time to understand what moves you, what makes you tick, what are you passionate about, what pisses you off. Learning you. And then you learn you connect with you. It's very easy for you to connect with somebody else and to be vulnerable with them and to have that intimacy because you love you. You are clear about you. You accept you. You are aware of you. And somebody can't tell you something about yourself that you don't know.
Right.
You know, why are you always angry all the time? You're so stubborn. No, I'm not. Really?
Really good information. I always used to hear people say, if you don't like you, why would anybody else like you? Do you like you?
Exactly.
I used to hear that a lot. I used to hear a lot of older women say that you have to like you first before you can expect any man or anybody else to like you. And that's a very true statement. And I used to use that statement a lot when I would do groups. And we talked about relationships, building healthy relationships and setting boundaries and things like that. And we used to talk about that like, do you like you?
Yeah,
And a lot of
it's the
people,
law of attraction.
exactly.
You know, like attracts like. If you don't like you, you're going to attract a man who don't like you too.
Exactly. Good nuggets. Thank you so much for sharing that. So for the sake of time, we're going to move up, and we're going to shift a little bit from the romantic side of relationships to the outside relationships, just for a few minutes before we get ready to wrap everything up. So aside from building the loving, the lasting relationships, how can we take some of the things you shared thus far and apply it to outside relationships? For example, if you're trying to build a business or career, or for a lot of women who are in search of healthy female relationships, because, again, we see a lot of women, I see it all the time on social media, women on this movement about supporting other women, or seeing the post about not liking women. And how do we take all of these things that you talked about so far and use that to build outside relationships?
Yeah, it's, you know, yeah, that's an unfortunate thing, this whole woman not supporting women thing. And again, we could truly spend all of our time just talking about just that aspect alone, you know, but really, again, understanding that when we're talking about relationships outside of us, that it always starts inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
That when you change internally, you change externally. And one of the things that I always tell my clients, I always promise them this because I just know it to be true, is that when they're finished working with me, the change will be so noticeable that other people will start looking at them differently. They will start treating them differently. They will notice. And, you know, my clients are always so shocked when it happens. And a lot of times it'll come in the fact of, you know, something's different about you. Did you lose weight? Did you change your hair? You just seem happier. You just seem bubbly. Like, people notice it because it really is the work from the inside out. And a lot of times we try to do it from the outside in because we think it's easier. We don't want to do that deep-rooted healing work. That's messy. I don't want to deal with that. I'd rather, you know, let me just, you know, like, and this is a real true story. One of my clients, let me go ahead and get a tummy tuck. She really did this. You know, let me get a tummy tuck. Let me get Botox. You know, let me do these things. Let me get a weave. Let me do all of these things to look better. And then once I do that, that's going to change my situation. But it doesn't work that way. The change comes from the inside out. And that's in any relationship. And when we look at business relationships, you know, friendships, you know, all of these outside relationships, it's really the same exact principles. It's the same exact thing. So, again, if we take, when we talked about boundaries, setting limits, you need boundaries in a business relationship just as much as you do in your personal relationship, if not more. Otherwise, your clients will run all over you. You know, so I had a client who, she was in business. She left a 9-to-5 and started her own business. And so one of her things was whenever her clients would call, she would answer the phone. And she would be with her children. You know, she might be in a park. She might be with her husband. Oh, wait, honey, let me go answer the phone. And I said, why are you doing that? And she said, well, you know, they're paying me good money, so I need to be available to them. I said, no, you don't. I said, you teach and train people how to treat you. You taught them that you would always be available to them whenever they call you. Let them leave a voicemail. Let them tell you what they need, and then you can call them back on your own terms when you have time.
Right.
So boundaries are boundaries, and regardless of what relationship you're in. And the same thing with your friendships. We all have friends that take. You know, I had a friend, and I love her to death. But every time I talk to her, she tells me everything about her. Don't ask me, how are you doing? Everything is about her. I'm like, well, dang, can I tell you about my day? Can I tell you what's going on in my life?
Yeah.
So you need boundaries everywhere, no matter what relationship it is. So all of these things that we're talking about, you can put them in every single relationship that we're talking about. It's the same principle.
Same principle. Good deal. Thank you so much for that. So as we're wrapping up, what strategies would you recommend for women to start today? Some things that they can do today, maybe one or two things to start working towards saying yes to relationships.
So one of the things that I'm passionate about, that I talk about all the time, is practicing soulful self-care. And understanding that self-care is non-negotiable. Self-care is non-negotiable. And once you start practicing self-care, you are whole, you're complete, you're feeling good. That's how you show up in your relationship. So that's something that you can do every single day. And there's free self-care, and then there's self-care that you got to pay for, like, you know, coming to somebody like me and working through, you know, all of the things that's going on in your life that you recognize that, you know what, I need to change. But there's free things that you can do every day. You can pray. You can meditate. You can go sit out in nature. You can just be still, sit in silence. You can practice gratitude. You know, there's so many things that you can do that really it just requires a sense of conscious awareness and commitment to yourself. So self-care is one of those things that you can absolutely start to do today and start to pay attention to yourself. Again, get to know who you are. You can't have a healthy, whole, complete relationship if you don't know who you are. You can't be intimate with somebody. You can't be authentic. You can't be transparent because you don't know who you are. So you have to take that time to really to learn you, so that when you enter into a relationship, you have already accepted who you are. You may not like every aspect of you, and you might be working on it, but you know who you are. So when it comes up in a relationship, you can deal with it because you're already aware of it.
Good. I love that. Good. Know who you are. So some things that you guys can start doing today is self-care, free or paid. And I like that. Free or paid self-care. I need to I need to make sure I post that with the hashtag free or paid self-care. And also get to know you. Those are some really good strategies that you ladies on the phone can start doing today. As soon as you get off the phone, that's something you can do. Before you go to bed, especially the free self-care, you can do that before you go to bed, 15 minutes.
That's right.
All right.
It doesn't take a long time.
Doesn't take long at all. That's a totally different subject, too, for women in self-care. That's a huge struggle for women to take care of themselves.
It's something that I talk about all the time, for women and for business owners.
Right. All right, so for those who are still struggling with saying yes to relationships or even interested in getting assistance or seeking out your services, how can they connect with you to learn more about you, your company, and how you can help them?
Well, I am Googleicious. You can literally find Avalaura everywhere. There's only one Avalaura, so you don't run the risk of, no, is that her? Yeah, it's me. So you type Avalaura, I will come up, and you know, you can connect with me. You know, that is my website as well. So avalaura.com, Avalaura, that is my website. So you can find me on all social media. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Periscope, I'm on every dang thing, Instagram. So you can find me online. And, you know, Ronnie, what I want to do for, you know, all the wonderful women listening tonight is I want to gift you with a complimentary 20-minute consultation with me. So if you are ready to say yes to your relationships, you know that you need help, contact me, email me at avalaura@avalaura.com, and just use the subject, say yes. And, we'll schedule a 20-minute complimentary consultation. It's not free. Don't say free, because my time is not free and neither is yours. So it is a gift. Okay? It's a gift.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I'll be sure to post that in the group. And also, when you guys get the replay, the replay will come out to you, but for those who didn't get a chance and they listen to the replay, I'll also make sure I post that as well. Your free, your complimentary, you said don't say free, your complimentary 20-minute session with them so they can talk to you and get the help that they need. That's good. That's really good. So I hope you guys take advantage of that. Please take advantage of that. Anytime someone comes on and you know that you have some struggles and they say, hey, this is what I'm offering a free worksheet, I'm offering a complimentary session, take advantage of that if you need it, because there's not many of us who are just going to say, hey, I'm going to offer you guys free 20-minute complimentary session. A lot of people won't do that. They won't take that time out of their schedule to do that. But thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we will be back on tomorrow for the month of yes. We're going to finish out the week. Tomorrow we'll be here with Kayla Brooks, and she's going to talk about saying yes to your health. Again, thank you, Avalaura, for being here. You guys can find her on social media, and she is right. She's the only Avalaura that you can find. I look for she's the only Avalaura that you can find. She also shares some really good nuggets. Follow her on Facebook, definitely. If you're not already, if you haven't gone on your social media page, you look her up. I'll go after this and look her up. She does Facebook Lives, and the one that she did that I saw was off the chain. I really loved it. And so you guys connect with her on social media. Until tomorrow, I will see you guys later. Have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Are you in need of spiritual guidance? Need clarity and direction in your life? Maybe a tarot reading from the sensual sage is exactly what you need. If you'd like to get a reading, go to her website at thesageseries.com and see the various reading services that you can receive from the sensual sage. And if you mention Avalaura, when you're booking your reading, she will do a complimentary single card reading just for you. Again, go to thesageseries.com and get your tarot reading today. Hey, beautiful. Thank you for listening to another edition of Avalaura Heal My Life podcast. Join me each and every week to move from whole to wholeness in your life, your relationships, your business, and your career. And if now is the time for you to embrace all that you are for your most incredible life, go ahead and email me today at avalaura@avalaura.com for your own personal consultation. And while you're at it, I'm Googleicious, so you can find more information about me online. Go to my website at avalaura.com and join my mailing list.